Hey everyone, welcome back to Keeping It Real with Tiff and Carl. I'm Carl Rabun,
I'm Tiffany Salcido.
and today we are going to be focusing on the third rung in the pyramid of the five functions or dysfunctions of a team and talking about commitment. But, you know, when we're thinking about commitment, you know, there's a lot of things we can be committed to, a lot of things that just draw us to being committed. And so, Tiff, just thinking about that, my question that I have for you is what's a movie that whenever it's on, that you just have to leave it on. You can't turn it off. Just, you flipping channels and it shows up. Oh, I guess that's what we're gonna watch the next couple hours.
I've got so many, so many. Okay. So Pretty Woman,
Pretty Woman.
Dirty Dancing, Spanglish, Forrest Gump. I think those ones, no, and Titanic. And Titanic also. Like I know exactly what's gonna happen. I know I could probably memorize the whole dialogue. I won't skip past them, even though if I've seen them a million times.
Okay.
What
So
about you?
you're a rom-com kind of girl, huh? Yeah.
You know what's funny? Not really.
No?
Honestly, not you would think, but not really. Like I really like action movies. I really
Hmm.
like comedies, but those movies, I think it's just nostalgic that
Hmm.
I just love them. I just love them, especially Pretty Woman. It's a movie about a prostitute, and I just love I just love it. It's just a
You
good
know,
movie.
that was on Friday, and I actually watched the entire movie for the first time, and I can't tell you how long.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I watched it from the beginning, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't remember. I didn't remember. I remembered differently. So, but yeah, it
You know,
was
to this day, Jason Alexander, I can't stand him as an actor because of the character he played in that movie. So, like, I never got into Seinfeld because I cannot stand Jason Alexander.
wow.
I cannot disconnect that character from him as an actor. I never have watched Seinfeld because of that.
Hmm. Well, his character in Seinfeld was kind of just a watered down, version of that character. I think now that I was thinking about it, I'm like, he plays a shitheel pretty good, so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but yeah, so cool. Yeah. So my movies, when Shawshank Redemption,
Love that one too.
yeah. Any of the Lord of the Rings movies,
Mm-hmm.
but not The
Never
Hobbit.
watched him.
Yeah.
Never watched him.
The Lord of the Rings trilogies, but not The Hobbit. I can't. That just didn't stick with me. Um, just probably like Swingers, The Breakfast Club, when that, because that's on quite a lot. So yeah, just those are those are some of those that I'm just flipping through the channels and I see them. Well, I thought I was going to watch something else, right? So,
I have another one. Pearl Harbor. I love Pearl Harbor. And it's funny because I don't care really about any of the actors in Pearl Harbor. I just think it was just a well-made movie. It was like good storytelling. The images were captivating. Like I
mhm.
love the music. It well, and I kind of like Josh Hartnett. I'm not even gonna lie. Josh Hartnett was pretty hot in that movie. I
There
mean,
you
and
go.
his character was like a sweet person too. Like I was rooting for him the whole time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. I haven't thought about that movie in a long time, but if that one comes on, I'll usually watch it as well.
Yeah, I like war movies. That's,
Hmm.
like my like Full Metal Jacket, that's on, that's
Hmm.
staying on, specific parts of Saving Private Ryan, right?
I
That'll,
also, yeah, I love Gladiator. And the
That too.
sequel's coming out. The sequel's
Hmm.
coming out, and I'm so excited about that. My husband, when I met him, he's like, Gladiator's a stupid movie. And I'm like, that was like one of those things I had to learn to live with it because I'm like, I can't believe that you could not like the most fantastic movie ever. Like, how dare you, first of all? How dare you? And so when we went to Italy, we actually went to the Colosseum and we got to go down to where the gladiators would play
Hmm.
and see it in real life. And it's very much like the movie, right? And we even asked the tour guide, like, was that really fictionalized? And he said, well, yes and no. Like the fighting was real, and he kind of told us how it happened. He's like, but the gladiators didn't. They do look like Russell Crowe, but not how Russell Crowe looked in the movie. Like gladiators tended to be chunky, like
Hmm.
big bellies, because it helped them not get hurt during. So the best gladiators were like Russell Crowe, but not Russell Crowe in the movie Gladiator.
Yeah.
um so anyways, after we like went and I was like, okay, will you give, now that you know like that it's not just a fictionalized story altogether, will you rewatch it? And he did. He watched it with me, and it was funny because my husband, he's not like one to give a lot of like positive reinforcement. He's like, I guess it wasn't that bad, which told me he liked it. But he could never just be like, oh yeah, it was a great movie, I loved it. He just was like, well, I guess it wasn't that bad. And so
It didn't
now that,
completely suck. Yeah.
yeah, so that was his way of saying like, yeah, it was good for him. So I when I found out the sequel was coming out, and I was so excited about it, and I'm like, can we go see it? We The last time I've been to the movies to see a movie, I went and saw Straight Outta Compton. That's as long as it has been since I've been to a
Wow.
movie theater. And so
Wow.
I was like, can we go see it in the movie theater? And he's like, yeah. And I said, okay, he really did like it. So I
Cool.
love Gladiator. Love that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. And Denzel's going to be in it too. So
I
that's,
know.
yeah.
Oh, I love Denzel. I love Denzel. I will watch anything. Denzel could do
Yeah.
a Colgate commercial and I would buy Colgate from that point forward. I love Denzel. I love Denzel.
Yeah.
Great actor. Great. Gosh, he makes good movies. Like I've watched probably every single one of the I can't think of the name of it all of a sudden.
Equalizer.
The the Equalizer. That
Yeah.
is probably, and then Man on Fire. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Man on
Yeah.
Fire. Such a good movie. I love
Yeah.
Denzel so much.
Yeah.
Such a good actor. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in Gladiator. That's going to be so amazing. I'm so
Very cool.
excited.
Oh, and another
Um,
one, Aliens. Aliens. That's a,
yeah.
yeah.
See,
The second
and
Alien. The second Alien. Not Aliens, not Alien. So
have you seen the new one?
not yet. We're gonna go. We
Okay.
my wife wants to go see that. So yeah.
Interesting.
Just saw the new Mad Max when it came out. That was pretty good.
You know what's funny is that we were looking for movies the other night on my Saturday where we just stayed home and did a lot of nothing.
Hmm.
Um, I was looking for movies on Max, HBO Max, looking for something we hadn't seen before. And I saw all like five of the Mad Max movies, and I realized I have seen absolutely none of them.
Hmm.
I have not watched them. So I might do that when I have some time. I may sit and watch all five of them. We'll see. Not at the same time. That's a lie. I probably will watch them all at the same time. I'm a binger. I'm a binger. So interesting.
Yeah. The first three have always been classics in my head, but I watched the third one the other day after we watched the new one, and then we watched Fury Road because my mother-in-law hadn't seen them. And then we watched part three because Tina Turner's in it, and it just didn't hold up what I remember it to be. But that's right. There's a lot of stuff that I'm sure I don't hold up the way some people thought I would
Right,
used to
right.
be. So I don't know.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I don't
Yeah.
know. I might watch them. I'll let you know if I decide to do it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question.
Mhm.
What is like a hobby or an activity that you do that you're just in the zone and it relaxes you and gives you a lot of like joy?
That's a good question. There are certain times when I'm hitting a golf ball that bring me joy, but then there's certain times where I'm saying, "What the hell am I doing out here?" Um, yeah, just singing, and then being in the bands that I'm in, that brings me a lot of joy, a lot of fun. In two different bands, kind of the same genre, but just different qualities about the bands, and
Mhm.
just enjoying being there and playing. Just so it's especially like during gigs, it's just in the zone. That's a lot of fun, and it's I'm definitely present. I'm feeling everything, but I'm also feeling it in a just in a heightened sense, right? So yeah, absolutely, that's something that's fun. But then also, I was, there's some trainings, some classes that I do that I get that feeling too, and
Mhm.
I really feel like I'm in the right place doing the thing that I want to do, and so yeah, I definitely I really like what we do, so it's a lot of fun. How about you, too?
I love to cook. Like, I love to cook. I love being in the kitchen and making stuff. And there's certain like foods that I'll make that are not even about the food. It's just the process of making the food that's relaxing. Like, um, a wild example of this is that when I am overwhelmed and overstimulated,
Hmm.
I go make corn tortillas. There's something about like the process of it, because you have to be like super present in that moment, that it kind of relaxes me because I can't think about anything else. I just have to be in the presence of doing what I'm doing. And it's like a almost a trance that I get in. Transcendent corn tortillas. But it really is like a vibe. Like I'm in the zone, I'm in the vibe, just doing what I'm working on, and then it relaxes me.
Yeah.
So baking is like that for me. I like to bake, I like to cook. Just on Saturday, I haven't been home. I have been home, but I've been kind of in between two homes. And so I have like some stuff at one house, I have some stuff at another house. Like I don't have any two things that go together. Like I'm not really doing good with this moving process because it's like I'll take all my cake pans to the new house, but all the ingredients to make the cake are at this house. So I'm like, oh, I should bake a cake. And then I'm like, oh, I don't have any pans here. So, and then I'm at the other house, like, oh, I should bake a cake. And I'm like, I don't have any ingredients here. So it's like I'm in this weird like space. Um, and so Saturday was the first day that I have been like home present at home, like where I'm actually here. And I was like, I've got stuff in the freezer that I need to get rid of. I'm trying to like empty out my freezer and get rid of the food that we have. Um, and so I was like, what do I have in here that needs to get eaten in? And so I found this bolognese sauce that I made, I don't even know how long ago, but it was just the sauce. And then I'm like, I'm going to make fresh pasta, right? Because the sauce is already made.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to whip out some fresh pasta real fast. And so I had my flour there and I had whatever. So I'm over there in the kitchen making fresh pasta. I get it all ready to the point where I start to roll it out. And I realize I've packed up all my rolling pins. I don't know. I have no clue where my rolling pins are.
Oh no.
But being the resourceful person that I am, I got to figure it out. So, like today for lunch, we were eating leftovers of bolognese sauce with the fresh pasta that I made. And I was like, man, this is so good. Like, nailed it. So good. Like, the pasta was the perfect consistency, wasn't too thick, it wasn't over, it was just so good. And then I get like a joy out of that. And I like to feed people. So that's like one of the ways I show my love for you is I'll cook for you, I'll feed you. And so
Yeah.
everybody that is around me is chunky because I feed them. I feed them well. if
Nice.
if you're around me and you're skinny, I don't like you. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But no, everybody eats well around me, and I really enjoy making things from scratch. Like I like to make my own bread. I like to make my own pasta. Like everything, it's just I get a special joy out of it, and I am in the zone.
Cool. You know, I actually, when we think about just mindless in the zone, maybe even therapeutic, you know what I found lately that is loading the dishwasher.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's that's definitely something that's I found is, can bring me just a routine piece. I have a process. I have a specific way how I like to load a dishwasher. It's like
Hmm.
like putting a puzzle together,
Yeah.
right? I love crossword puzzles, and so and then Tetris, right? So, how do I load this sink full of dishes into the space that I have and to not have any wasted space and to make sure that everything's in there, right? So it's yeah, that's actually been some just during the pandemic I really picked it up because I did not want to have dishpan hands. Not just because I was worried about the dishpan hands, it's just I didn't like doing the dishes at all. And
Right.
something I picked up just being at home and having a routine. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Do you want to hear a fun fact?
Yeah.
I don't have a dishwasher at any house.
Hmm.
When we bought this house here in California, um, one of the first things I did was take out the dishwasher. And then when we remodeled the kitchen, like I literally gutted the whole kitchen and then redid it. When we redesigned it, we redesigned it without a dishwasher. So, and opted for more cabinet space. So
Hmm.
sorry for the next people who own this house. There's no dishwasher. And then in the new house in Mexico, we don't have a dishwasher. And I was okay with that because I prefer to hand wash dishes. I don't
Yeah.
I don't use a dishwasher.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
kids hated it. Can I say when my kids were at home, they really, really did not like that we did not have a dishwasher.
Yeah.
And I like I don't know, I like hand washing it. I don't mind washing dishes, to be honest.
Yeah.
I actually like cleaning up the kitchen after I've cooked. It's like again, you make a big old mess and then you clean it all up and it's very relaxing. So
Yeah.
I dig that. I dig that you like to load the dishwasher. That's cool.
I'll also I pre-wash them, so I do like to wash dishes before I
Right.
put them in there because there's nothing more annoying than pulling out dishes out of a dishwasher that still have, crap on them. So
Yeah.
that's annoying. So yeah, so yeah, yeah. Well, that's at my mom's house that I grew up in didn't have a dishwasher. She had to buy a portable dishwasher, right? And so
Mhm.
yeah, so yeah. I mean, not everyone has a dishwasher. It's
Well,
okay.
I grew up having one. We had a dishwasher, and I think when like my family was bigger, I didn't mind having the dishwasher, but as the kids grew up and for just my husband and I, because I'm an empty nester. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. That was me being super excited about that. But in being an empty nester, there's just two of us and we're not home tons. So sometimes it's just him, sometimes it's both of us. But um to fill up a dishwasher enough to like actually turn it on, like to feel like we're not wasting water and energy, it would probably take us like a week to fill up the dishwasher to run the dishwasher. And that was kind of like one of the reasons why we opted to not have one because I end up just hand washing them most of the time anyways because we never can fill it up fast enough to make it economical, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't judge people with dishwashers. It knock yourself out. Like if I had like a bunch of people in my home and I could run it every night, I would definitely probably have one. But for us, it just doesn't make any sense. So,
Yeah. Hey, that's my motto. Get in where you fit in, right? So,
right?
yeah, cool, cool.
Sorry, I'm running over my rug. Give me 1 second while I get my whole life together. I bought like this washable rug for the space and it's not vibing with me. I keep getting it stuck on my chair. So
Hmm,
we'll have to fix that. No
cool.
dishwasher, no workable rug. That's what I have right now.
Huh. So I have another question that's going to introduce our topic today.
Yes.
So, what do you, I'm just thinking about what gets you excited to go to work? What what is it that motivates you to get up and leave your house with no dishwasher and a janky rug and and travel the way we travel, sleep in weird beds or away from our loved ones and just what gets you excited to do what it is that you want that you do?
Well, the most obvious answer is I like to earn money. But with that being said, there's lots of different ways that I can earn money that wouldn't bring me joy. So the thing that I am most committed to and what gets me excited about the work that we do is that I feel like it creates an opportunity for people to like be their best self and to enjoy life. So without going like too deep into like trauma and like pain and suffering, um, I will say that growing up, my life wasn't always like easy. We'll just say that. And I'm a slow learner, so I repeated a lot of the things that made my life uneasy in childhood. I did as an adult, and which again made life a bit difficult. And a lot of it was out of like not knowing any better. Some of it was like obligation or feeling like I was obligated to do a certain thing or, like, here's your path, you need to follow it. Um, and then there came a time like when I'm making career choices, like I didn't come into human services for any noble reasons. Like, let me just be honest. Like, I started to work in my local county, not because I had this innate desire to be a helpful person and to make the world a better place. I started with the county because it had air conditioning, it had health insurance, and I heard that county workers don't have to do anything. And I said, well, that's right in line with my career aspirations. So um, I came in kind of with a blindfold on, not really knowing. Like even when I got offered my position with the county, my first position was called a registration information assistant. And honestly, when I showed up for work my first day, I had no idea what that job even meant. Like I had no idea what I had said yes to. I just knew that I was working for a phone company doing customer service over the phone in a call center. And I was really just kind of jaded to hearing people complain about stuff that didn't matter, right? So when I started in the county and I started to see what human services was about and what the job entailed, I got really into the idea that what I did as the individual worker made a difference in somebody's life and made their life better, right? So I really liked having that ability to help people in a way that mattered. Because again, I didn't mind the customer service part of my first job. I minded people getting so upset over something trivial that didn't matter in life. Like, why are you up in arms about, you know, your call dropped on cell phone technology in 1998, where, there was like four towers in the whole country. Like, you're getting mad that you can't use your unlimited nights and weekends for 4,000 minutes because you had a drop call, but, people are starving. So seeing like people asking for help and you could help them in a way that was meaningful is what I really, really loved and why I've stayed for almost 2 decades doing this type of work. It's like that ability to see someone who's asking for help and see them as a person, not as a case, not as a statistic, but to see them as a person and connect with them as a person and be like, let's see what we can do. Let's figure this out. Let me find out what we can do to help you. That's the part of it that I think got me really excited. And so, um, of course, like that customer facing, public facing position, as rewarding as it is, inherently rewarding, like being able to make differences in people's lives, doesn't pay very well. And so there came a time where I loved the work, but financially it wasn't going to sustain like my family's needs, which is why, I started looking at maybe promoting and going into supervision and like taking on additional responsibility where I could shape the programs and the way we help people in a different way. And so that became kind of like what I enjoyed is how do I help the people? And that's where now where we're at, I think is the place where I really get excited because I now have like a bird's eye view of what happens from the bottom up through the top of the organizational chart. You know, I've had the luxury of working with, people at the front desk all the way up through working in the director's office and, doing big level things. I wasn't a director. I'm saying I worked with
Hmm.
my director, kind of seeing it like from all of these different perspectives and seeing how all of these pieces fit together. And then being able to come into a classroom and like translate like where people have influence in the big picture, which is helping the people. So it's a space where I'm helping the people who help the people so that the people that we're helping in the public have people who treat them well and who really help them navigate the complicated systems that we have and have compassion and empathy for people who are in active crisis and who are experiencing trauma in their lives, but also not doing it so selflessly that we're not taking care of the people doing the work who need support and who need compassion and empathy and all of the things that they're dealing with and doing that work. And then again, helping influence like the systems that are in place that help the people do the job, provide the services to the people so that everybody is living like the best quality of life that they can because I made this like decision. I only want to live joy, right? I don't want to have any more trauma. I don't want to have any more bad days. I only want to make space for things that are joyful. And I feel like people should be able to come to work and not hate coming to work. Like I don't want people to wake up and be like, oh, I have to go do this thing that I hate, but I need to do it because if not, then, there's all these bad consequences. Like I feel like people deserve to be able to love what they do. And I think that's where I want to come in and help them love the thing that they do and maybe see it from a different perspective so that they can regain that compassion and the empathy and the connection to what we do, which is to really make the world a better place. And I think that in workplaces we spend so much time talking about the tasks, like this report, and you need to do this by this date, and here's another spreadsheet that you need to complete by Friday, and make sure you do this, and you didn't check that box. Like there's so much focus on like the minutia of the work that people get disconnected from the passion behind it and the impact that it has on people, which ends up feeling like a punishment to them. Like I don't want to come to work and work on a spreadsheet. I want to come to work and do the spreadsheet so I can help the people, but the connections are not being made. And so I think a lot of people are feeling defeated and disconnected. And no matter what they do, they're not doing enough and they hate their job. And I want to change that. That's what gets me up and gets me excited is having people like reconnect to the work and feel good about it and want to go to work every day and make a difference. Sorry, the passionate that's like my whole like thought process on it. That's what gets me up is helping people reconnect.
Yeah,
What about
yeah.
you, Carl?
Um, just you guys just go back to where Tiffany started and stop right now, and that's just imagine it in my voice because that's where I am too, right? So my number one value is impact, and it's the impact that you have on people, right? And you can have a positive impact, you can have a negative impact, right? But just thinking about what is it that you want to provide folks, because just in most things that people do where you're working with the public, your actions have some type of impact on
Mm-hmm.
outcomes with individual people, right? And it's something that is so profound if people actually really think about, even if I don't talk with clients, if I'm in payroll and, if I just take, I've got 15 minutes left on the clock on a Friday and it takes 10 minutes to do this. Okay, so maybe I'll just wait till Monday. And then, what happens if the system's down on Monday, and then maybe people don't get their checks on Friday like they're supposed to, right? And how's customer service working with somebody who did not get paid like they were supposed to and rents due, right? You know, empathy and compassion, right, for others. For the most part, when people start thinking about how they're feeling and how where they are in their place. And so even people who do not necessarily work with our end users or maybe ever see them, right, can have that impact. But especially when you're in a customer facing position, thinking about the actions that you take, the the words that you say, the behaviors that you exhibit, all right? Everyone's watching, right? And folks are watching you and listening to you say and do things, and they're watching and hearing you not do things, right? And they're feeling the effects of that. So, I mean, I knew people who, if a client was being rude or disrespectful to them, whatever the client handed them, they would put at the bottom of their work pile and say, "Oh
Hmm.
well, I got 5 days to process this. They're not going to treat me like that."
Hmm.
Okay, well, you're working in human services, and client treated you in a way that you felt disrespectful, but you didn't say anything to them, and you didn't help them to be aware of where you were disrespected, like we talked about with conflict in the last episode. And so the action that you're taking is completely passive aggressive. That person isn't there to see your action or inaction. And your inaction may cause that person to not get a benefit, right, that they're entitled to, right, in a timely manner, which could make a difference. If you have somebody who's living on an EBT card and a very fixed income and you're not processing things because you think that they're rude, what happens if they have to work both days on a weekend and instead of buying meals for their kids, they spend it on gas because they have to go to work, or they pay me for meals for their kids. Maybe they don't, they call in sick one day for gas and because they can't afford the gas. And, just think about, the idea of a PTO, right? So if you call in sick, then, one of those vacation days is missed. If you take a vacation, then you can't call in sick one day, right? So those things all add up for a lot of folks, especially in entry level positions or in non salary positions, right? And so
Yeah.
our actions are so profound, and the impact that we have is so profound, whether you are, line staff, line supervisor, middle manager running, a bunch of a department of folks who work with line staff, or senior leaders who set the tone, like we talked about with culture, right? It all trickles down and people can feel it and it impacts people in various ways. But, if that's where you're headed, that's what's going to end up being, right? So it's that impact is so important for me. So that gets me up, gets me prepared the night before, gets me ready to provide the best possible interactions I can have with a class full of folks or a
Yeah.
one-on-one coaching assignment or on a podcast with a good friend. I mean, that people listen to. So that definitely gets me excited. And so just thinking about that, you mentioned those folks that come disgruntled and not necessarily feeling like they're in the right place to feel appreciated, feel fulfilled, right? To be motivated and engaged, right? So, Gallup keeps track of those engagement numbers and they've been keeping track of them for a while now, but the latest came out in the end of last year. And 30% of American workers say that they're engaged, right? Which means there's 70% of folks who are not engaged, right? So that backs up your assertion, what you were talking about in terms of, how people feel,
Hmm.
and it's really something that's challenging. I mean, how do we gain that increased engagement? Because when people are engaged, they use what's called discretionary effort, right? And discretionary effort's that a little extra in the tank that people use for people and things that deserve it, right? We use it for our family. I mean, one of our kids is calling us at 3 o'clock in the morning, Mom, I need you to pick me up. I mean, we're gonna go. they're going to get a lecture, but they're going to go. We're going to go, right? Um, our boss says, "Hey, can you volunteer at the local fair on Saturday just for a couple hours?" I'm engaged. I'm for sure, no problem, right? We'll figure that out. Can you cover this for this person? Sure, no problem, right? Those little things that we do for those people and things that deserve it. And so there's 3 out of 10 folks in your office that are ready to go and to do that, right? Which means that there's 7 folks who are either not going to use discretionary effort or are legitimately trying to, poke holes in your boat, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's definitely a challenge. How do we help those folks feel engaged and committed to their work, to each other? Because, it's just to talk about this is third rung on the pyramid, right? To bring up the pyramid again. Once we trust each other, then we can manage conflict in a safe and well-meaning way. And once we can manage conflict, then we can be committed to each other because we can have those conversations. We can know that each other has our best interest in mind and that we're working towards better results for our relationships and customers, right? And that leads to accountability and results, which we'll get to in other classes, in other episodes. But it's 7 out of 10 folks are having a hard time with that engagement and commitment, So yeah,
Okay, so I'm gonna be a little controversial right now because
yeah,
I'm a people displeaser.
yeah,
Where does that 7 out of 10 come from, right? Now, look, I I don't want to be disparaging to leadership, but I am gonna say that oftentimes the further away that leaders get from service delivery, whatever that looks like, the less realistic they can be with their expectations. And I'm not saying like a CEO needs to pull up their sleeves and do the work that they're hiring their entry level people to do, but I am saying that they should have some awareness around what's expected of people and um, take care of some of the necessary things, like making sure people are compensated fairly, making sure that they have clear job expectations, making sure that they're receiving adequate feedback and they have adequate resources to do their work. But, if you think about like automation, right? Computers, the internet, AI, all of this technology that is available and is utilized in the workplace. It's made workers more productive than they ever have been. And they're not compensated in a way that's equal to their effort or to the value that they bring to their organization. And so money is not everything. I want to be very clear, but if I'm being paid a fair wage for my work and money is not going to be the issue, but if I don't feel valued in what I bring to the equation, then after a period of time, I'm going to become disconnected from, or I'm not going to believe it in it anymore. Now, I have this argument between like productivity versus purpose. Like, what do we focus on, the productivity or the purpose? And there's going to be a balance of both of them. But when leaders are asking you to bring more, do more, contribute more, believe more, engage more, more, but then I say, oh, you know what? My kid is not feeling well. I have to leave early to go pick my son up from school because he's not feeling good. Well, I guess if you have to, then go. Or even this idea that I have to ask permission to take time off of my job so I could spend time with my family. Like, oh, the holidays are coming. I'd like to, I don't know, spend some quality time with my family and enjoy time with my children. Do you mind if I take off 2 days extra? Oh, no, you must come to work. Of
yeah,
course, people are going to be disengaged because you're not seeing me as a whole person. You're seeing me as um, produce, produce, give, give, give. But what am I getting? Oh, but we pay you. Yeah, but you're getting value from my labor,
Yeah.
but you're not seeing me as a whole ass human being with a whole ass life outside of the workplace. And so after a while, of course, if you don't see me and treat me as a human, I'm going to behave like a robot and do exactly what you want me to do, nothing more, nothing less. And when you want more from me, I'm going to say malfunction. No, no. Control Alt Delete. I'm not doing that. And then I become disengaged. And like you said, sometimes that means if I become so disgruntled with how I perceive that I'm being treated, I might purposely sabotage you so you gonna learn today. Go back to Denzel. You gonna learn today. You're gonna learn how I can use my effort towards something disruptive. When if we switch the way that we treat people, then they might be more engaged and not in a performative way. Like, please don't fake the funk with me. Treat me well because I deserve to be treated well. Don't treat me well so you can exploit me a little bit more.
Mm.
And that's where I think a lot of companies think like, oh, we do appreciate our staff. Didn't they get the company logo beer cozy for Christmas? Didn't we get them Costco pizza? Didn't we get them Costco pizza last week? How dare them be ungrateful for all of the things we do for them? But we're like, but make sure you get that Costco pizza on your 15-minute break. Please don't take any company time. Get your slice to go and go eat it at your desk because we're
Yeah.
monitoring your performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I
I
get
was
I get worked up on
no,
this one.
but Tiff, how do you? I mean, I didn't have that coming up. I wasn't treated like that when I was line staff. When I was, coming into leadership, I was just, given a book of operating instructions and good luck.
And do better.
Yeah.
And
And
do better. And do better. That's it. And do better. Like times
yeah,
are a changing.
yeah,
Times
yeah,
are a changing.
yeah.
There was a time where employers held all the cards, right? People think about like after the Great Depression, everybody needed a job. They didn't care where it was at. Then we went to war as a country. So we needed people to work in factories and munitions, and women joined the workforce. It was an employer's dream because people needed to work. They needed the money. And they could take advantage of that. And I'm not saying all employers are malicious. Please don't take that all leaders are
Mhm.
terrible people. They're absolutely not. But what I am saying is that this idea that the employees owe the employer something because I've been so gracious to let you work here. There is opportunity, but at the same time, it's a reciprocal relationship where you're paying me money to do a job and I'm going to do the job in the way that you're paying me the money, but you can't expect more than what you're paying me. And I still deserve to be treated as a person who has, again, a life. Like most people don't work for the fun of it. Like if I was independently wealthy, let me just tell you this. If I was independently wealthy and I didn't need money to like live and buy food, I probably would do nothing but like sit on a beach and drink margaritas and live my best life and do a few little volunteer things that brought meaning to my life. But I'm not that fortunate. I blame my parents. They should have worked harder. I should have been a trust fund kid, but I'm not. So I do have to make money and I do have to work. But it's a my employer does not own me. We have a reciprocal relationship where this is what I want to give you money to do this job. And here's what I expect from you, and here's what I'm going to give you. But just as I have to kind of bend to the will of my employer, they have to bend to the will of their employees to make sure that it's a mutually beneficial relationship, that nobody's getting taken advantage of, right? Because again, that the leadership has to be perceptive enough to know if I want somebody to be committed, right? We're talking about commitment. If I want somebody to be committed to the work, they number one need to understand what's the goal. What are we trying to accomplish? Is it something that you signed up for? And how do we connect the work that we do back to that purpose? so that what we do adds value. I don't feel like I'm just spinning my wheels doing stuff all of the time that has absolutely no meaning but checking a box. And I think that too many people like start like think about like the last job that you started. You probably were super excited about it, right? Like, I'm so excited. I was chosen. I interviewed, I applied, I interviewed, I got chosen from all of these people. I'm excited to work for this company. I can't wait to do my best job. I'm curious. I want to know, like, what are the rules? What are the, how can I do this better? How can I give my best self? And people like usually start jobs like super like bought in and committed to the work and then check in with them like a year later. They're like, well, I could give my best self if my employer did this. And I would do better work if they did that. Or I'd be completely bought into this program if, and now we've put conditions on our commitment.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, again, that has to belong partly to the employee. Remember, I ended the last one stay, enjoy, or leave in peace. Like, if you're going to do the work, like, do it because you want to do it. I know it's not that simple. And you have a reciprocal benefit, and we can't be passive aggressive. Like, I may not always have the best relationship with my employer, but you know who I don't take it out on? I don't take it out on my classes. I still do the best work I can for the people that I'm here to serve, even if I'm feeling some kind of way about the way I'm being led. I don't I don't lessen the quality of my courses because my integrity tells me that's not the right thing to do. Now,
Yeah.
I might exert my displeasure in other ways with directly with the employer, but I don't punish the people who count on me to provide the work. And I think, like in a county setting, that's what happens. People get disgruntled with their leadership, their management, the rules, the regulations. And instead of participating in a solution, they feel just like they don't feel power. So they take that power out on the people that they're helping as a
Hmm.
way of feeling like they're in control of something. But it's like so much bigger than for me. And again, this is why I'm so passionate about this commitment thing, because it, if I make a decision in human services, like this person talked to me crazy, so I'm going to put them at the end of the line. The ramification of that is that somebody's child might go to bed hungry,
Right.
or somebody's family might have to sleep in their car, or somebody may not be able to pick up their life-saving medication from the pharmacy. And regardless of how I feel or what they said or whatever, I personally don't want to be responsible for someone's suffering to teach them a lesson, right?
Yeah.
So they can learn.
What's the lesson that we're learning? That your kid, right? I did a talk about call centers, right? I did a training with an entire county's call center last year, just a whole series of all 400 people in the call center. And we had the conversation about, you know, well, I don't have to be talked to like that. I don't have to be treated like that. Sure, you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. There are certain things you have
Mhm.
boundaries, you have personal boundaries, you have professional boundaries. There are things that you do not need to take, right? But then also, when we're thinking about the idea of impact and what other people are experiencing, right? I mean, if you're the average wait time in that county's call center is 2 hours. So if you're on the phone waiting for somebody to answer your call, to help solve your issue. Let's say your kid is sick and you got a prescription for medicine, they're running a fever, and you get there and they say, well, your Medi-Cal is not working.
Mhm.
You get a call, and you can't walk in anymore. It's a call center. So now you're waiting on hold for 2 hours and there's not anyone checking on you. I mean, just think if you're waiting on hold for somebody for 3 minutes and no one's checking in saying, hey, are you okay? Somebody will be right with you. I'm sorry about that. How are you feeling? Right? 2 hours. And so you get somebody on the phone who's maybe dealt with people who are yelling at them all day and, and oh, yeah, well, county. well, I need to speak to somebody in my, something's wrong with my medical insurance, and I don't know what's wrong with you people, and you guys keep messing this up. Ma'am, we don't need to be talked to like that. If you need to calm down, or we can end this conversation. Well, I don't understand, and blah blah blah, and MF and all this other stuff, and click. I don't need to be talked to like that. They can call me back when they learn how to talk to people. Okay, so now this parent with a child who has 102 temperature, are they going to say, I was a little harsh on that person. I see the light now, and darn it, I'm, I, it's, I just, I wish I would have done better. I'm just going to have to deal with it and figure out how to fix my daughter's temperature, right? No,
Right.
what are they going to do? They're going to call back, and they're going to wait 2 hours, and they're probably going to get somebody else on the phone. And now, so yeah, I need to speak to one of your workers, and you people are this and that. I need to speak to your manager. So now the manager's on the phone, hearing a complaint about two workers. And so you have two disgruntled workers, a disgruntled client, who's really, frustrated. You know what crisis is? Crisis is when when you're beyond your coping skills to deal with something.
Right. Right.
I can't get my daughter medicine because of an administrative issue, right? And I have to wait on hold 2 hours to even have that conversation. I get somebody who doesn't seem like they're caring or empathetic. It might lead me to a heightened sense of emotional response, triggers, like we talked about in the last episode.
Mhm.
And so, if we're not thinking about that, if we're not thinking about what is the situation that we're engaged with, and all we're thinking about is, well, they told me I didn't have to deal with this, right? And I'm not going to deal with this because who are these people? They need our help, right? And what is the impact on that child, on that family, right? If you were on hold for 2 hours, how would you feel? I don't know. I'd never be on cash aid or assistance.
Lies.
Okay. We saw what happened when people felt like that during the recession, right? All those people used to drive past the county office. Oh, look at those people. And now they were sitting in the lobby with the county office with all those folks. Right. So yeah, and it's definitely, something to think about, that idea of impact, and your impression of what it means. And it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job to answer phones all day. It's not an easy job to work in a lobby with folks who, are in existential crisis, but then also some folks who have mental health challenges, and folks who are homeless, and folks who are, in need and don't necessarily haven't necessarily developed maybe some of those critical people skills that would make their needs something that you are more interested in interacting with, right? And but just even that, I mean, translate that to leadership, Tiff. What do people? Oh, I'm really busy, right? I'm so busy, right? And I had a conversation with the colleague that I was coaching the other day. He said, I don't know what to do, to talk to my boss because they're always so busy, and I feel like I'm you know, um, intruding on them whenever I need to talk to them. But it's always something that's important, right? And if people feel that way, or if people are being made to feel that way, then what happens? What gets done? What doesn't get done? What gets said? What doesn't get said? Who do we have that can address our needs? Our leaders or each other? And what happens, like we talked about, Tiff, when people start talking to each other? Those people who can make a difference in the change are never connected. So what happens? It just festers, right? And that's where a lot of that, disconnection, that lack of engagement happens, right? And think about what motivates you. You mentioned money's important, but also making a difference. Is money a legitimate motivator? Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, I love what I
Up
do.
to a
I
certain
love,
point. Up to a
well,
certain
yeah,
point.
but that's the point, right? So money's a legitimate motivator, right? Money will get us up. It will get us going, especially when we don't have any sick time, right? I need to go to work, right? Whatever else it is for some folks who are not necessarily there. But think about, you talked about folks who start a job and then what happens a year later, right? They have different needs. Well, what's people's needs when they start a job, right? The employee value proposition, right? What are the things that attract people to a job? Pay, benefits, right? The reputation of the company, job security, and a chance for advancement. Those are the things that attract them. When you're looking at a job announcement and you need a job, or you're looking at, oh, I need to find something that matches my values, or I need to find a job. Like
Hmm.
you said, when you came in with the county, that was, you had your motivation. My motivation was my job at the Air Force Base was ending in 6 months, and somebody was coming to take my job, whether I liked it or not, because I was a temporary employee. So I needed a job. My friend James McClellan worked for me at the base, started working for the county. He moved from, um, welfare to work to CPS, and they had a position open. He knew I needed a job. He introduced me to his boss, and it was a hookup. I fell into the job, right? I fell into the job because I needed one. I had a house note, two car notes. I needed the job, and in the midst of taking that job, I found what it was. I found my niche. I found what it was that I enjoy doing, what I like doing well. And 20 years later, almost 21 years later, here I am. It's a passionate career. And, I hate to call it a calling, but it's just, I'm there with you. Right. But what happens when we first find that job? We're glad that we got the job. Right. And money is definitely a motivator. Why? Because I need to pass onboarding. I need to be able to pass that test. And then I need to pass probation, right?
Hmm.
So if we don't pass those milestones, nothing else matters. The money's gone, the benefits are gone. But then, like you said, a year, how long after people become, after they pass probation, become permanent, do you start hearing people start looking at each other and saying, we don't get paid enough for this,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's a different thing. The drivers of attraction are not the drivers of retention and attrition,
Hmm.
right? So if the drivers of attraction are pay, benefits, job security, right, a chance for advancement, right? Only two of those are transferable to the reason why people stay, right? Businessleadership.com has 5 factors to employee retention. And the first is leadership, people management, right? How are people being treated? 75% of people who leave a job say their direct supervisors the main reason they leave a job, right? Number two is feedback. Yeah, I want to know that I matter, that I am a human being, that you see me as a human being, not just a body that's that's producing. Right? It's like I told a class the other day, if you are looking to hire bodies, that's exactly what you're going to get.
Hmm.
Right? Number three is a chance for advancement, but really, it's not always upward advancement. It's about if we can't promote up, how are we developing you as a person? What else might there be within our organization that you would be interested in doing? How did I get into teaching? I was a case manager. I wanted to see what else was out there. I saw people who were in my job classification teaching classes. I said, "Ooh, I want to do that. My master's in instructional design. I want to be able to do that. How do I do that?" Well, you have to do this job for 2 years before you can transfer. So I did a job for 2 years. I joined work groups, helping to make a difference on little things that I saw that could be better. Right. I got into the workshop, unit, and then also I got, a chance to promote into leadership for a while. I went back to the workshop unit. Right. So those were things that I found that were really things I was passionate about. Right. So educating and also leadership. And so those were the factors that led me to what we do in the organizations we work with now, right? The UC Davis is a company we work with, an organization we work with. I found out how to be a UC Davis instructor from going to UC Davis classes and then going to an institute on the campus and asking their staff, how do I do what you do?
Hmm.
Well, what's your interest? I've been doing it, right? And so that's how we get into it, right? So that chance for development, advancement, where we have people that will say, what is it that you're interested in? What would you like to do? What are some options that we can help facilitate your growth? Because we want you to stay. To this day, you don't hear me say two bad words about Kern County because I enjoyed the fact that I had leadership that said, if I came up with this with a harebrained scheme, I don't know, let's try it out. What's the worst thing they could say is no? Or, oh, you're interested in this? Well, let me see if they're interested in having you, right? That's so important. Compensation is definitely another one, right? And that's a challenge. Compensation hasn't rose with our economy and you know and the cost of living, right? As well for people who work in government services. And then last is a work-life balance, right? Where you're not taking work home with you,
Mhm.
right? Where you feel like you have opportunities to have a healthy life outside of work, and that if you need to take a couple days off, you know, to be able to go to the Little League World Series with your son, or you know, go to the softball World Series in Oregon with your daughter, whatever it is, right? You know, that you can do that, right? That people recognize that you and your family matter as much to me if you are satisfied in the way that you're able to provide for your to take care of your family, then you're going to continue to do those things that help you to provide for your family. So leadership, feedback, advancement, compensation, work-life balance, completely different than what are the things that draw us to the job. The job announcement doesn't have any of that stuff in there.
Right.
Okay. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we get people past probation where they start thinking past the paycheck, right? And I mean, we're lucky. I don't want to say lucky. We're fortunate. We worked our asses off to get to where we are, but we took the chances and asked the questions and put ourselves in position to be in those places where we are now. But you know, what if people don't necessarily feel like they have those resources or know what it is that can help them get there?